Stop messing around, stop fooling around, stop delaying, stop procrastinating. Get up, get out, get it done. Everything is possible, nothing is a problem, and anything can be overcome. I just get my ass up out of bed, I get my shit together, and I get out and I start the fight. And that will transform you from a mere mortal into a superhuman being. I've never, ever, ever met anybody who told me that they got rich watching their IRA or their 401k.
Welcome to the Daily Cash Flow. My name's George Robson.
I'm Peter Siegel.
Peter, you said to me before, your goal should be to work yourself out of a job.
Yeah.
What do you really mean by that? Can you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, work yourself out of a job. I mean, for everybody. If you're a business owner, if you're an employee at a company, and even not in your 9 to 5, but in other areas of life, I mean, you want to get good enough at it and set up systems so that you automate the things that you've now become good at. You want to add enough value that happens automatically that you can then move on to other things. And the good stuff that you've been working on for the past 6 months, year, 2 years, 5 years, now is happening by itself. And you can move on and focus on other things. I mean, if you're an employee at a company, I'm not saying you want to work yourself out of a job so that you get fired. I want you to work yourself out of a job so that you grow and expand and move on to new, bigger, better things. That's what I'm saying. So, for me in my business, I show up to work, I want to be great at those things, complete them, tie them up in a bow, move them away, and move on to other new things. So when I say work yourself out of a job, I'm really saying become proficient at setting up the systems and the efficiencies needed so that all that value that you're adding starts to happen by itself, and you can then move on to other things. And if you do that at the company where you work, or if you do that at your own business that you own, you're going to fuel your growth and you're going to fuel your success at your job. And I think it's important for people to strive for that greatness with whatever your job is. If you're in an entry-level job and you're a younger person, if you're at a mid-level job, if you're at a lifelong career, I mean, you want to add so much value so efficiently and so effectively that you can move on to new stuff.
Yeah, looking to grow always. And
always.
Not being satisfied with the status quo.
Always.
Yeah.
And it's a simple concept, and most of us get so complacent and lazy and stagnant in our jobs. And it's the largest reason why people want to seek a new job or a new career somewhere else, because they're not happy where they are, and they're not happy where they are because it's the same thing day in and day out. There's no growth, there's no movement. Well, I mean, if you can create a situation for yourself by working smartly, by working effectively, and make it so that the things that you have been doing can occur in an automated manner, in an effective manner, in an efficient manner, and you can seek a new position within the same organization. I think a lot of people would then stay put and not move and not seek a new career. I mean, it happens all the time, and wouldn't it be great if we can push ourselves to work ourselves out of the job that we're thinking about leaving anyway and get a new job with the same employer?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So there's this other concept that you've written about, and I've heard you speak about before. I think it's kind of articulated this way: you want a seat at the table, you got to first recognize that the table exists.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you mean by that? I actually don't follow exactly.
I say that in relation to young people that I come into contact with all the time. You've heard me talk about how I feel that young people are impatient, that they want success and money and fame and fortune now, right away, quick. And really, I think that young people need to spend their 20s getting the shit kicked out of them so that they can then start to add value and achieve some sort of success in their 30s and 40s and later on. So for young people who want a seat at the table, who are looking for wealth and success, I mean, you got to understand, there's a table there, right? There's a corporation, there's a company, there's an infrastructure, there's other people around. There's stuff going on. You got to be a barnacle on the body of a whale and attach yourself to that whale and sit down at the table, be quiet, watch, learn, and you'll get there one day. Be persistent. We talk about all the things that are necessary for success here on the show, George. So follow those things, be persistent, have drive, determination, self-awareness, know yourself, all those things that we've talked about. But you're not going to come out of school or high school or college and be a young person and waving your magic money wand all over the place and changing the world. I mean, maybe for Mark Zuckerberg, he can do that, and for Bill Gates, he can do that, but it's the real world, and for the rest of us who aren't Zuckerberg and Gates, we got to start somewhere. We got to build, we got to grow, we got to learn, watch, listen. So, show up, provide value, add value in your organization, to your company, to your business. Focus on fundamentals, focus on foundation and building on the foundation. And you'll have a real seat at the table at some point, but you're not going to show up and demand a seat at the table, and you're not going to realistically expect to have a seat at the table and be taken seriously without those foundations and those fundamentals being there. So there's a table that exists. If you want to sit at it, take a step back, understand what it is and what it takes to get there, and you'll get there.
And I would imagine, with Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates as examples, that had they not realized the table exists, their lasting power, their staying power wouldn't necessarily be there. That
I don't know, George. I'm actually saying
yeah.
about Zuckerberg and Gates that they disregarded the table and forged their own path and cut right through it.
Yeah.
But for the rest of us, mere mortals, we have to breathe air and drink water. Those guys really don't. So, I think a lot of hard work, determination, and learning and growth and listening and self-awareness is part of the recipe of getting to that table that you want to sit at. And just if you're a young person, just take a deep breath and you'll get there. You'll have that seat if you focus on these things that we talk about a lot here and elsewhere.
Yeah. Peter, how do you maintain momentum? You feel like you're always going, you're always moving forward. We talked about growth and you're looking to grow. You've even written about, you have this quote, every positive thing you do creates momentum, every negative thing you do creates inertia. Is there anything you do every day or every week that kind of moves you forward, creates that momentum for yourself?
That's a good question. I don't have a morning ritual or a secret energy drink or anything like that. You got to stay positive. You have to enjoy what you do. You have to love what you do. As a human species, our biggest weakness is that we're prone to so much failure because we don't keep going. We just stop doing it. And we stop doing the things that will ultimately lead to success because we lose interest. And so I love what I do. I'm really interested in what I do. So I don't lose the interest, so that helps me to keep going. And be positive, man. We've talked about the things that people in relationships want to have with one another. Easy to be around, not high maintenance, friendly, fun, laughter. These little things that are so simple and part of our everyday lives, not just with work and business, but with so many other things. You got to have those things, and you got to be a positive thinker, and you got to say yes. We've talked about how to say yes more, and really only say yes. Yes you can, yes I can, yes we can, and move forward with a yes attitude and be a yes person. And
so Peter, I'm on board with that and you're on board with that. But I can already hear the people, listening to this, that somebody's going to say, but Peter, I just don't feel like it. I don't feel positive.
You know what?
Feel.
Put your big boy panties on, and when you don't feel like it, force it on yourself. Literally take the sandwich of yes, shove it down your throat, and get on with it, man. And you got to do it every day. Force feed it. If you have a tough time being positive, if you have a tough time seeing how to say yes, if you have a tough time agreeing that you should even say yes in the first place, I challenge you, try it. Force feed it on yourself. And whatever the number of days is, if it's 21 days to form the habit or 66 days or whatever the modern number of days are that are required to form that habit, do it for a while. Force feed yourself the positivity and watch what happens, because once you take care of your physical state, your mental state is going to then follow in suit. If the body doesn't have it, the mind can't have it, and they both have to be working in synergy. So force it on yourself. Whatever you got to do to block and suppress the negativity and encourage and nurture the positivity, you got to do. For some people it's easier than others. I think that's probably what you're asking. If you're amongst the people that it's not so easy for, find ways that work for you. Create habits, force the habits. Once you force the habit over and over and over and over and over again, you're going to wake up one day and it's going to be all of a sudden easier for you to do. And you're now going to be in the easy for me to do column, not in the hard for me to do column. Just don't get stuck. Be a yes person. And if you think it's all bullshit to say yes and the positivity and the yes I can, look, then you're just finding another excuse. What are you going to do? You're going to let your excuses and your reasons not to hold you back and then define you as a loser? Or are you going to be a yes person and a positive thinking person and an open-minded person and move forward and grow and nurture and have the relationships you want and have the success you want and have everything that you want? I know what I'm choosing for myself, and I know that the people that are closest to me are positive people. It's very hard for me to be around Debbie Downers and negative thinkers and depressed people. I don't know about you all out there, but if you have a choice and you do, what are you going to choose? Depression and negativity? Or are you going to choose upbeat, momentum, positivity, encouragement? What are you going to choose? So make the right choices. Choose the positivity. Choose the yes. Choose the encouragement. And you'll find that once you choose it enough on a regular basis, you're going to get there. Again, 21 days, 60, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I know it's not going to take forever, and I know it's not going to take a day. So make a decision and suck it up and force feed yourself a bunch of yes with lettuce and tomato, man. Whatever you got to do. The more happiness you give, the more happiness you're going to get.
Yeah. Man, I'm getting hungry with it. I need to go home and get myself a yes.
Like on my food, I think that's why I say that, because I'm a food lover too, so why not eat and drink it?
Got a yes and lettuce and tomato sandwich when I get home.
Yeah.
So we've been getting a lot of DMs on our Instagram, a lot of emails from accredited investors, and these are successful people. These are people that have been in business a long time, and they have these questions about real estate investing, and honestly, a lot of them don't know that much about it. They're confused about different aspects of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of miscommunication, misunderstandings. What are the most common misconceptions that you come in contact with concerning real estate investing?
That's a great topic for me. I think I hear a lot of that too. So there's a few common misconceptions. The ones that pop into my mind immediately are that people think it happens overnight or that it can be quick. And nothing in real estate happens overnight. We've talked about that here before. And I think connected with that is that it's not get rich quick, but it's get rich for damn sure. And we've talked about that here, and I think that's probably why those are the first two that popped into my head. But it's a great path to be on if you've got the determination and the connection to it and the commitment to it. I think a big one for me is that people don't understand that real estate is really a people business. While as much as it is land and bricks and mortar, it's people. People have to rent your space. People have to build your space. People on your team have to run your assets and help you run your business. So it's as much as anything a people business. Most people think that real estate is like sexy and it's deal making and it's banking and it's like all these topics that turn people on, especially young people. They say, oh, I want to be a real estate executive. I want to be a real estate investor. Oh, really, do you? But it's real estate is a people business as much as anything, as much as retail and as much as anything when you're dealing with the public. And I think that there's a misconception about really what's at the core of being successful at real estate. It's being able to connect with people. You have to be connecting with your customers, your residents, your tenants, your vendors, suppliers, your team. All of that stuff is so crucial. And then lastly, I think that for me, what I found over my 30 years in the business is people feel that the big moment comes when you sell real estate, and selling is where you make all your money. I sold a property, I sold a building, I sold my shopping center, I sold my apartment building, and I never got it. I never understood it. The whole thing for me about being in this business, and I'm in income producing real estate with apartment buildings, so the whole thing for me is I'm in it for the long term, I get cash flow, and while I'm getting the cash flow, I get the mortgage, interest, tax deductions, and depreciation, so there's great tax benefits. And while all that's happening, my mortgage is getting paid down by my residents sending in rent every month. Oh, and by the way, as you add value to the building by renovating, by capital improvements, by whatever the business plan is for that asset, you're forcing capital appreciation. So you're getting the capital appreciation without having to sell the asset to get the capital gains. I mean, when you sell, George, you're out of business, you got to pay taxes. Oh, and by the way, you worked so hard to find that asset and opportunity in the first place. You worked so hard to put the business plan together and then to add all that value with the renovations and the capital projects and improvements. And you worked so hard and got the shit beat out of you to get to a point where you have a great, valuable asset, and now you're going to go sell it? I mean, I never get it. It's such a fight. It's such a battle to get a hold of these opportunities and to work them and to show up to your job every day and be involved in them. And then you're just going to sell only to pay taxes? Oh, and by the way, if you've ever refinanced along the way, you're only reducing your basis on it, so your taxable exposure is even greater when you go sell. So unless you're doing a 1031 tax-free exchange when you sell, it's just a stupid move. Everybody that I know that's really wealthy and successful in real estate has really never sold anything, or strategically and very limited basis only sold things. And when they sell, they do these 1031 tax-free exchanges, and they roll the money over into a new opportunity and asset and start the whole clock all over again without paying the taxes. So for me, selling just doesn't fit with my core business plan.
Yeah, I mean, I hear the through line, I feel like, out of all of those is that it's a lifestyle that everyone right now, I feel like, is looking for, and this has always been the case, looking for the jackpot and winning the lotto, and finding that business deal that's going to allow them to just not work anymore, or do whatever they want. And what you're saying is that this is a lifestyle, and that
whatever it is you choose to do in your life, do it because it makes you happy. That way you're going to increase the odds of you doing it for a longer period of time. I chose to be in real estate investing because it makes me super happy. I'm good at it. I get psyched about it, so I do it. And what I've learned by doing it is just stay the course, don't sell. There's other ways to monetize your assets, and there's other ways to be successful in real estate other than selling your building or your house or your property that you worked so hard to get and worked so hard to improve along the way. There's a gentleman by the name of David Friedman who was a very close family friend and very close to our family, and was really a big part of our life growing up. And David told me once, Peter, when you sell, you're out of business. And I'll never forget it, and that's why I recycle it back to you here now. He was a great guy and a smart guy, one of the smartest guys I've ever met. So I took that with me in my real estate career, and I've never sold anything.
So Peter, we're on TikTok. We've been on TikTok for a while.
Yeah. What's up, TikTok?
If I set the clock for 30 seconds or a minute,
okay,
what are 1, 2, 3, 4 things that you would tell the young people right now on TikTok?
All right, TikTok, you want 4 things to be successful? Number 1, learn how to sell. You can't do shit if you don't know how to sell. Number 2, be confident. The more confident you are, the more you're going to sell. Number 3, get a personal financial statement, manage it, update it, look at your bank accounts every day, and watch your financial situation grow. And number 4, understand supply and demand with everything, with the business that you're in, with the job that you're at, with your friends, with your family, social situations. Supply and demand governs everything.
Excellent. I take it. I buy that.
Thank you.
So Peter, you and I have talked about T-bills, talked about art collection, we've talked about stocks.
I don't like any of them.
Right. Even in our theme song, you mentioned that no one ever got rich watching their 401k or their IRA.
They haven't. No one.
So how do you feel about mutual funds?
Well, I mean, George, mutual funds are just the same thing as stocks. The difference is a mutual fund is professionally managed by a fund manager wearing a suit and tie who's picking the stocks to buy and sell and when the buys and sells occur. For me, we're talking about investment alternatives and what's available to you as an investment alternative. I've chosen only to be in real estate because I find that it works for me and it outperforms all of those other asset classes. So I don't want to have the exposure to stocks. I don't understand them. I mean, I don't want to feel like I'm not in control of these day-to-day swings that happen, and they're so massive, these swings, and they make me nauseous when they occur. I could never have the stomach to have money in the stock market. I mean, these companies state earnings, and then 2 weeks later or 2 quarters later, they restate the earnings, and the stock tanks. You know, these companies also hire these PR firms to be in charge of the messaging out to the fund world and these fund managers and to the retail investor public. And they change the PR firm, and the messaging changes, and the stocks tank. I mean, you can't manage that. You can't deal with that. I mean, so much of what should be involved with making investments is really just based on fundamentals, cash flow, profitability. I mean, these are things that you don't hear so much about anymore. Instead, we hear today about eyeballs, visibility, future earnings. I mean, I can't sit around and wait for future earnings to occur or not occur while these massive swings happen in stock markets and with these mutual funds. So I've chosen income producing real estate because it's outperformed most of these asset classes over time and throughout history. And the problem has been, for most people, they just don't have access to investing in income producing real estate. So you know that that's what we're here talking about, is that we provide access to people to be able to invest in income producing real estate. But I encourage everybody to include real estate in the discussion of whatever your investment alternatives are. I mean, if you're trying to decide between stocks, cash, T-bills, mutual funds, fixed assets, art, whatever the discussion is, make sure you're including real estate in it, because the world's changed and now you can be involved and have access to income producing real estate. So make sure that you're including that in your discussion.
All right. Want to move on to Zest Quest, Peter?
I love it.
All right.
Hit me with something I haven't heard about.
All right. Well, first Zest Quest.
Yeah.
What book or books have you most gifted or you most recommend?
Wow. Well, the one I've most gifted is a book called Many Lives, Many Masters. And I remember, when I was a kid, I wasn't a huge reader at all. And I could count on one hand the amount of books that I read after college and outside of high school and college curriculum. And I remember that Meg Green, one of the smartest people I've ever met, she would always talk to me about business stuff and investing topics. And she turned me on to this book. She said, "Peter, you got to read this book, Many Lives, Many Masters." I thought it was about a business topic. And she's like, no, it's not about business. So I read it on one flight down to Florida. What is that, a couple of hours? I mean, it was the fastest I've ever read anything in my life. And just loved it. I couldn't put it down. I mean, it sucked me in. And it was one of those moments I'll never forget. And I gave that book to so many people, and I turned so many people onto it. Even now, 20, 30 years later, I mean, it's 30 years later, I'm still turning people onto it. I mean, it was just a sick experience that I had reading this book, and so definitely check it out. And now, there's so many other books on topic with Many Lives, Many Masters, but check it out. And George, throw up a link or the author's name. And help people get turned on to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thanks, Meg, for that.
And then final question for today. What's something you used to think was a huge deal that you now realize wasn't a big deal at all? And then maybe what's something that you thought was stupid that you realized maybe you should have given more credence originally?
Something I thought was a huge deal that I later learned really wasn't a big deal. I mean, you know what? When you get to be my age, look, I'm 52. There's people older than me, there's people younger than me. So for whatever wisdom I've acquired in my 52 years, I think most things tended not to be a big deal when I look back on them. The things that I think are big deals are health, spirit, family, friends. All that stuff I think it can never be minimized or compromised on. We've talked a little bit about that here recently. And those are the pillars of importance and a great life. And don't sweat the small stuff. I mean, it's true. And don't sweat the stuff that's not going to matter tomorrow or in a week. I mean, we spend so much time, it seems, worrying about all this bullshit that's so temporary and so fleeting and won't be around in our lives down the road. I mean, if it's not going to be in your life down the road, why do you worry about it so much? So I think I've learned that most things are not worth worrying about so much. I sleep nights.
Yeah.
as a result of it.
Yeah.
I don't worry so much.
Yeah. Sleep's important.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, Peter, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks, George. Thanks, everybody.